on the bottom. All the asterisks play later in the round.
Yes, good evening everyone, and welcome to a history-making night here at the MCG. Normally it's tribunal night. No, Mr. Busy tonight, because this is Monday Night Football coming away on 7. It has happened once before, way back in round 8 of 1952, but it wasn't here in Melbourne. It wasn't in Sydney. No, it was the exhibition ground in Brisbane, in a match moved up there because of bad weather, and Geelong played Essendon. The Cats were the champions that year, but they were humiliated at the exhibition ground by some 69 points. Bobby Davis was hoping to be one of the stars for the Cats. Sadly for the Geelong Fire, it wasn't to be. It was John Coleman's night. He booted 13 goals, 7, and the Bombers reigned supreme. The Cats, of course, as I said, however, won finally because they went on to win the flag. So this is the first scheduled Monday night match, and it's going to be a real test for some of the young stars of the future. For many, it's graduation night. By Wayne Carey out onto the ground in front of a crowd that is building by the minute. Mighty queues outside as the Tigers too make their way into the arena. There'll no doubt be 50,000 plus here by the time this game commences. The build-up has been fantastic on this history-making night. Through the banner go the Tigers, and Wayne Carey, Anthony Rock and co hoping to regroup after their loss to the West Coast Eagles. And look at this crowd here at the G. As I said, building all the time, but already some 45 to 50,000 fans have flocked into the arena. Should be a wonderful night. Normally, the man next to me puts his feet up on a Monday night and has a well-earned rest. Sorry, not tonight. No, Jared Healy.
Normally, it's this time we're just sitting around waiting for the Monday night experts. And geez, I like the new haircut, Sammy, too.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look at Richmond. They've done very little wrong, Jared, so far this year.
Yes, that's correct, Wade. They've beaten Fremantle early in the piece when we probably perhaps underestimated them. They have a good win against St Kilda and broke a big hoodoo against Hawthorn. But I think tonight is their big test. You called it graduation day. I think that sums it up pretty nicely. If they get over the ruse tonight, well then they'll be recognised as a force to be really taken seriously.
Big night for Rossi Smith. He and North Melbourne have to do something, though, which they haven't been able to do a lot in recent times, and that is bounce back after a loss.
That's right. The history books do suggest that since round 13 in 1993, they've had 7 losses, and on 6 occasions they've followed it up to make it 2 losses in a row. And in fact, on 2 times since that date in 1993, they've continued on and had 3 losses in a row. I don't think this is the North Melbourne of old, though. This is a more mature North Melbourne, and I would suggest that they will bounce back tonight.
Let's have a look at the Tigers squad, led by young Wayne Campbell, who's done everything right in the opening 3 games, had a fantastic start to the season.
Yes, he has been their best player. They've also been well served by the 3-pronged tall forward line with Edwards, Richardson and Benny Gale. And of course you could throw David Burke into that lot, but I think tonight some of the keys will be Stuart Wigney, who was selected in probably fairly controversial circumstances, but this will be his ultimate test because he'll be up probably against the King, centre-half back. If he can control the King or just lessen his effectiveness somewhat, well then certainly he will have rewarded Richmond. Chris Bindwell, he'll be on Wayne Swass, a vital player for North Melbourne. He was their best and fairest winner last year, as was Wayne Swass, incidentally, for North Melbourne, so that should be an interesting battle. And Matthew Richardson is moving around the forward line in somewhat of a roving commission, and he will certainly be a thorn in the North Melbourne side, perhaps picked up by Ian Fairley.
Well, it's an ideal night for football here in Melbourne. Maybe it's a night for John Longmire to get amongst the goals.
He'll need to do that. I mentioned Ian Fairley. He's been a late inclusion because we believe that big Alex Ishenko is missing from the squad. But once again, when you're talking North Melbourne, the keys, of course, are Carey and McKernan. But I like Matthew Armstrong. He's just been struggling just that little bit. But he will have to fire tonight because the Tigers have their strength in the middle of the ground with the likes of Knights and Free and Campbell. And if he can just produce that and link up with Carey and Longmire, then he will certainly be of great service. Wayne Swass was terrific last week, probably just a little bit of a quieter second half, but he's the architect for North Melbourne. When he gets the ball, something happens. And what an inspiring leader has Michael Martyn been once again this year. He's won a couple of best and fairest for North Melbourne and is really going on with a job this season.
A leader and a great character. You know, I've got a funny feeling that at the end of the night we're going to be saying that Monday nights in Melbourne are not going to be the same again in the middle of winter.
Now, I think this is going to be a big test and probably just indicates what will be happening down the line.
Stay with us. We'll be back with all the action right after this break. All night here in Melbourne. It seems ideal for football. What about on the surface, though? Our boundary rider is down there. Dipper, good evening.
Good evening, Sandy and boys. As you said, what a perfect place to be here on Monday night at the MCG. The ground is in tip-top condition, but just a little dewy, Sandy. I'll just show you how it works. Here we go. Look at this. Right, that's how dewy the ground is.
Slip sliding away with the Dipper. Get those long stops in. History is about to be created. It's on with Richardson and Martyn. And